October 15th, 1963. WCBS Studio, Manhattan. Live television. 8:47 p.m. The cameras were rolling. 3 million viewers watching across New York. Councilman Robert "Bobby" Thornton sat across from the host, confident, smiling. He was running for Manhattan Borough President, leading in the polls, had the support of Tammany Hall, the police unions, the real estate developers. Then the host asked about crime in Harlem. "Mr. Thornton, you've promised to clean up Harlem. What's your plan?" Thornton leaned forward. This was his moment. "The problem with Harlem," he said, "is people like Ellsworth Johnson. This career criminal just got out of prison, and he's already back running his criminal empire. The coloreds up there worship him like some kind of hero." The host shifted uncomfortably. "You're referring to Bumpy Johnson?" "That's what they call him," Thornton said, laughing. "Bumpy. Like he's some kind of folk hero instead of a thug who's been bleeding Harlem dry for 30 years. In a brownstone on 141st Street, Bumpy Johnson was watching. 58 years old, gray in his hair, wearing reading glasses, sitting in his favorite chair. He smiled. Then he picked up his phone. What happened in the next 72 hours didn't just end Robert Thornton's political career. It ended his marriage, his business relationships, and his reputation. And Bumpy never raised his voice, never made a threat, never broke a single law. He just made 3 phone calls. To understand what happened, you need to understand who Robert Thornton was in 1963. Bobby Thornton came from old New York money. His grandfather had been a railroad baron. His father ran a successful real estate empire. Bobby grew up in a mansion on the Upper East Side, went to Yale, joined the right clubs, married the right woman. But Bobby had a problem. The family money was running out. His father's real estate deals had gone sour in the 1950s. The mansion was mortgaged. The lifestyle was maintained on credit and appearance. Bobby needed money, real money, and he saw politics as the path to get it. He joined the Democratic Party in 1958, started as a district captain, worked his way up, made connections with contractors, developers, union bosses, learned how the game worked. By 1963, Bobby was a city councilman representing the Upper East Side, and he was running for Manhattan Borough President, a position that controlled millions in development contracts. His campaign strategy was simple: position himself as the law and order candidate, promise to clean up crime, and make Harlem the villain of his story. In 1963, that strategy worked. White voters in Manhattan were scared of Harlem. The civil rights movement was happening. Things were changing. Bobby offered them a candidate who'd push back. But Bobby made a mistake. He thought Bumpy Johnson was just another gangster, just another target he could attack for political points. Bobby didn't understand who Bumpy really was. Bumpy Johnson had just been released from Alcatraz in June 1963. He'd served 11 years for conspiracy. But in those 11 years, Bumpy had become something more than a criminal. He'd become a symbol. In Harlem, Bumpy was the man who'd stood up to Dutch Schultz, who'd negotiated with Lucky Luciano, who'd protected the community from corrupt cops and racist mobs, who'd proven that black folks didn't have to bow to anyone. Bumpy didn't just run the numbers game. He funded black businesses, paid for kids' education, protected families from eviction. When Martin Luther King Jr. came to Harlem, Bumpy made sure he was safe, and Bumpy had something else. Information. 30 years of information about who paid who took bribes, who had secrets. Bumpy knew where everybody was buried in New York politics, including Bobby Thornton's. October 16, 1963, the morning after the TV interview, Bobby was reading the papers. His campaign manager, a man named Gerald Pierce, called him. "Bobby, we need to talk about last night." "What about it?" "I crushed that interview. You called Bumpy Johnson a thug on live television. You mocked Harlem. The black vote is going to bury us." Bobby laughed. "Gerald, I don't need the black vote. I need the white vote. And white voters loved what I said. They want someone who'll stand up to these criminals." "Bobby, listen to me. Bumpy Johnson isn't just some street thug. He's connected. He's smart. You don't call him out like that." "What's he going to do? He's a 60-year-old ex-con. I'm a city councilman running for borough president. He can't touch me. But Bumpy had already started. First phone call. 8:30 a.m., October 16th. Bumpy dialed a number from memory. The phone rang twice. Amsterdam News, the voice answered. This is Bumpy Johnson. I need to speak with James Hicks. James Hicks was the editor of the Amsterdam News, Haarlem's most influential black newspaper. He'd known Bumpy for 20 years, respected him, knew he wasn't just a criminal. Bumpy, Hicks said. I saw that interview last night. Thornton's an idiot. He's more than an idiot, Bumpy said. He's a hypocrite, and I'm going to prove it. I need you to run a story. I'm sending you some documents. What kind of documents? The kind that show Robert Thornton isn't the clean politician he pretends to be. 2 hours later, a courier delivered an envelope to the Amsterdam News offices. Inside were photocopies of property records, bank statements, and a construction contract. The documents showed that in 1961, Bobby Thornton's real estate company had bought 3 tenement buildings in Haarlem. Buildings with black tenants. Buildings with violations for rats, broken heat, dangerous wiring. Bobby had bought them cheap, ignored the repairs, and raised the rents. When tenants complained, he'd had them evicted. When the city tried to fine him, he'd used his political connections to make the violations disappear. Bobby Thornton, the man who promised to clean up Haarlem, was a slumlord who'd been exploiting Haarlem residents for years. The Amsterdam News ran the story on October 17th. Front page. Borough President candidate exposed as Haarlem slumlord. Bobby's campaign went into crisis mode. They issued a statement. The properties were owned by his father's company, not Bobby personally. Bobby had no day-to-day involvement. It was all a misunderstanding. But the damage was done. Black voters were angry. Civil rights groups were demanding Bobby drop out. And the story was spreading to the white newspapers. Bobby thought that was the worst of it. He was wrong. Second phone call. October 17th, 2 p.m. Bumpy dialed another number. This one rang 4 times before someone answered. Fulton Fish Market, Tommy speaking. Tommy, this is Bumpy. I need to talk to your uncle. Tommy's uncle was Carlo Gambino, the new boss of the Gambino crime family. Bumpy had known Carlo for 20 years. They had a relationship. Not friends exactly, but mutual respect. 2 hours later, Bumpy was sitting in the back room of a restaurant in Little Italy. Carlo walked in, flanked by 2 bodyguards. Bumpy, Carlo said, sitting down. It's been a long time. Too long, Bumpy replied. I need a favor. What kind of favor? Robert Thornton, the politician running for borough president. He's got some union contracts, construction projects in Manhattan. I need to know who's backing him. Carlo smiled. Why? Because he insulted me on television, called me a thug, said I was bleeding Haarlem dry, and I don't let disrespect slide. Carlo laughed. I saw that interview. Stupid move on his part. He paused. Thornton's getting money from the Teamsters. Big contributions. In return, he promised them no-bid contracts on city construction projects when he wins. That's illegal, Bumpy said. Of course it is, but who's going to prove it? Bumpy smiled. Me. Carlo leaned back. You want me to testify? You know I can't do that. I don't need you to testify. I just need you to make sure the right information gets to the right people. Carlo thought about it, then he nodded. Consider it done, but you owe me one. Always, Bumpy said. October 18th, 1963. The FBI received an anonymous tip. The tip included details about Robert Thornton's relationship with Teamsters Local 282, dates of meetings, amounts of contributions, promises made in exchange for future contracts. The FBI opened an investigation, not because they cared about corruption, but because investigating corruption gave them leverage, and leverage was power. Within 24 hours, the FBI was interviewing Teamsters officials. Within 48 hours, Bobby's campaign manager Gerald Pierce was being subpoenaed. Bobby's poll numbers were collapsing. The Amsterdam News story had cost him the black vote. The FBI investigation was scaring away his wealthy donors, and now the white newspapers were asking questions. Bobby thought maybe he could survive, maybe he could spin this, maybe he could. Then Bumpy made the third phone call. October 19th, 9 a.m. Bumpy dialed a number in Chicago. The phone rang once. Hello? Mrs. Thornton, my name is Bumpy Johnson. I believe you know who I am. Silence on the other end. Mrs. Thornton, I'm not calling to threaten you. I'm calling to inform you. Your husband has been having an affair with his campaign secretary, a woman named Linda Hayes, for the past 18 months. They've been meeting at the Plaza Hotel every Thursday afternoon. Room 412. More silence. I'm telling you this because you deserve to know the truth. What you do with that information is up to you, but I thought you should know before the election. Bumpy hung up. October 20th, 1963. 5 days after the TV interview, Bobby's wife, Margaret Thornton, filed for divorce. The papers were explicit. Adultery, named Linda Hayes as the co-respondent, cited specific dates and locations. The scandal exploded. The Plaza Hotel confirmed that Bobby had been renting room 412 under a fake name. Linda Hayes gave an interview to a tabloid, confirming everything. She was angry that Bobby had promised to leave his wife, and never did. Bobby's campaign collapsed completely. His remaining donors pulled out. His political allies distanced themselves. The Democratic Party asked him to withdraw from the race. On October 23, 1963, 8 days after calling Bumpy Johnson a thug on live television, Robert Thornton held a press conference. He looked terrible. Bags under his eyes, rumpled suit. His lawyer stood beside him. I am withdrawing from the Manhattan Borough President race, Bobby said. Recent allegations have made it clear that I cannot continue. I apologize to my family, my supporters, and the people of New York. He didn't mention Bumpy Johnson, but everyone knew. The reporters shouted questions. Bobby ignored them. He walked off the stage and out of public life forever. His real estate company went bankrupt within 6 months. His law practice dried up. His friends stopped calling. His wife took everything in the divorce. By 1964, Bobby Thornton was living in a studio apartment in Queens, working as a paralegal for $85 a week. The man who'd promised to clean up Harlem had lost everything, and Bumpy Johnson never raised his voice, never made a threat, never broke a single law. He just made 3 phone calls. October 24, 1963, the morning after Bobby's press conference. Bumpy was having breakfast at Wells Restaurant in Harlem, his usual table, reading the newspaper. The front page showed Bobby Thornton's defeated face. A young reporter from the Amsterdam News approached his table, nervous but determined. Mr. Johnson, can I ask you a question? Bumpy looked up. You can ask. Robert Thornton's career is over. The slumlord story, the FBI investigation, the affair. It all happened right after he insulted you on TV. People are saying you orchestrated it. Bumpy smiled. People say a lot of things. Did you? Bumpy folded his newspaper. That man called me a thug on television, said I was bleeding Harlem dry. He wanted to build his career by attacking my community. So I did what any citizen would do. I made sure the truth came out. The truth? That he was a corrupt slumlord taking bribes and cheating on his wife. I didn't make those things true. He did. I just made sure people knew about them. The reporter scribbled notes. Some people are calling you a hero. I'm not a hero, Bumpy said. I'm just a man who believes that respect goes both ways. You want to attack me? Fine. But make sure your own house is clean first. The story spread through Harlem like wildfire. Bumpy Johnson, the man politicians loved to attack, had taken down a racist councilman without throwing a single punch. Other politicians took note. If you attacked Bumpy, you better make sure you had nothing to hide, because Bumpy knew things. And Bumpy had patience. For the next 5 years, until his death in 1968, no politician in New York dared to use Bumpy Johnson's name for political gain. They might criticize crime. They might promise law and order, but they never mentioned Bumpy specifically. Because Bobby Thornton had learned the hard way. You don't insult Bumpy Johnson on live television unless you're ready to lose everything. Bumpy didn't need violence. He had something better: information, connections, and the patience to use both at exactly the right moment. Robert Thornton thought he could build his career by attacking a 60-year-old ex-con. Instead, he destroyed it, and he did it to himself. Bumpy just made sure everyone knew about it. October 15, 1963, the night a politician called Bumpy Johnson a thug on live television. October 23, 1963. The day that politician lost everything, and in between, 3 phone calls, one to a newspaper editor, one to a mob boss, one to a betrayed wife. That's all it took, because power isn't about who can hit hardest. It's about who knows the most, and who knows when to use it. Bumpy Johnson knew, and Robert Thornton learned.